So many of us have been horrified by images of black students in Ukraine trying to flee war and instead being met by racism. For decades, Ukraine has courted students from Africa as part of the country's tradition of providing affordable higher education to all. Now, Ukrainian universities house more than 76,000 foreign students. That's according to the BBC, with nearly a quarter of them from Africa and more than 20,000 from India. Now, as Russia creeps across the country, thousands of these students have attempted to flee to safety only to be caught in the grips of racism.
We still have people trapped, like in Sumy in Ukraine. There are students, thousands of them trapped because the bridges have been destroyed by bombs and everything, so they can't move. They are trapped there. No more food, no more water. So how are they going to feed? How are they going to survive?
Absolutely devastating. Joining me now is Kimberly St. Julian Varnon. She's an expert in the history of Ukraine and Russia, and Alexander Sontu-Ora, a student at the State of University of Telecommunications in Kyiv, who has just fled to Poland. Alexander, I'm so happy you're here. You're one of the thousands of students fleeing the violence that we were just talking about. You were turned away twice at the border. Please tell our viewers about your experience.
Okay, the first experience I witnessed was in Kyiv station, which is called Vokzana. They told us it's only for women and children to get in first before the men. But we told them, you were pushing African women out of the train, and you were also pushing South Asian women. What do you mean by women and children? Do you mean that those women are not qualified to get into the train? So we started protesting about that. We started shouting that you're not letting the black women get in. And they told us that another train is going to come, that the next train that comes, we allow them to get in. So we said, okay, the next train came in again, and they started doing the same thing. We have to block the road to the door, and started shouting before they allowed the African women. Then there was a train that came again. The train was going to Warsaw. I and my friends get in. They called the police on us and told us to get out of the train. And we asked them why. They said the train is mostly for Ukrainians. Okay, when we got down, we didn't see them checking passport because we know there are some black people with Ukraine passport. They were selecting only white people. They were not checking passport. Then we started protesting again. Finally, we got the train in the night and got to a city that has border with Poland, which is called Lviv. Then in the Lviv, most of the trains are going to Poland. They refused the African women again, and there were several African women, pregnant African women, those with children. They were telling us that this is mostly for Ukraine, and we said, no, these women must move because they cannot be in this cold. We struggled for hours before they could allow these women to go. Now, women knew that we cannot get into the train. We trekked to the border. We trekked for more than half a day to the border. When we got to the border, there was a barricade 30 minutes to the border. They separated us. They separated us. They said the white people should go to the other side, then the non-white people should go to the other side. So many people have slept there for 3 days, 2 days. They were allowing only white people. They will allow like 100 white people, and they allow like 2 black people or non-Asians. We started shouting and protesting. We protested for 3 days before they could allow us to move. They didn't allow us to move. We pushed in and protested. We have to push through. Then one of the soldiers popped on. That was in the morning, and told us that if we break the barricade, that he's going to shoot us. We told him that we are students. We are not illegal immigrants. We pay our school fees. We have our resident card. You have to allow us to move. They didn't care. One of them got into a bus that was parked there. He drove back and was coming down with speed. He wanted to run into us. We didn't budge. We raised our hands up and started shouting that if they kill us here, they would never go free. Then one of them called for backup, which is the police. The police came and cocked gun again in front of us and was insulting us, telling us that we have to stay here. We told them, no, we cannot stay here. We have been here and you've been moving the white people away. What do you mean that we have to stay here? That was how we protested before we broke the barricade. Then we got to the border. That was the second discrimination among us. When we got to the border, they told us that the border was closed. We said, okay, we saw people that have slept there for 3 days. That's the border. It's not even the other place that we passed. And we asked them why. They said they have been passing white people. They are not allowing them. Then we said, okay, let's wait. In the morning before 12, a man on black came and told us, if you are Indian, African, or Arab, leave this place and go to Romanian border. We told them, no, we cannot anymore. We've trekked for many days. We cannot go back. They say we have to go back. We told them we can't go back. Why are you telling us that? Why you were pushing? We were passing other Europeans that are white. You didn't even ask for passport. If you meant Indians and Africans, then check our passport. At the end of everything, they went back and negotiated and came back again and told us only women and children, which is when they started allowing women and children. They didn't discriminate about. They allow only women and children of all races. But that was when we protested against all these things.
Alexander, I want to say I'm so happy that you're safe, and I am so sorry that you had such a horrific experience. I want to remind our viewers when they were telling when you had to sleep for days at one of the borders, it is unbelievably freezing. It's cold in Ukraine. So I just don't want our viewers to take that lightly, that you were stuck there for days. And I'm very proud to see you, Brother Alexander, safe and well. I'm up against the hard break, and I'll bring you in on the other side, Kimberly. But just before we go, Alexander, I just want to know, how are you doing right now? Are you safe and are you okay?
Yes, I'm currently safe and I'm okay, even though I still need to go for hospital checkup. But I'm currently helping others that are across the border to get accommodation because we don't have enough accommodation and our government didn't provide enough accommodation for us. And that's what I've been doing, trying to get accommodation for so many people, which is what I've been doing for days now. So I'm fine now. Just that my focus is on the people that I've crossed.
That's very, very giving and selfless of you, and we are in the diaspora with you, brother. But don't go anywhere because I want to hear more of this story. And Kimberly, I want to bring you into this conversation.
Ukrainians were let in, and the foreigners, they were segregated to one side.
All the time that Ukrainian can pass every checkpoint, every passage, every door easily, but we always wait like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and always there was some discrimination and racism, I think.
Were people helping you, or?
Some people helping us, but the guards on the borders, they didn't help us.
Were they mistreating you because you were African?
Yes, there were some kind of things.
Kimberly St. Julian Varnon and Alexander Somto-Ora are back with me. Kimberly, I want to bring you in the conversation. You just heard that devastating testimony from Brother Alexander, who is in this moment safe, and we're very happy to see that. You have been tweeting out some really interesting observations. You talked about the foreign students and Russians without passports who cannot take the usual paths out. And you even suggested that a group of foreign students were trying to leave Sumi State University, who you say that they were shot. I have to say, I don't believe MSNBC or NBC News has confirmed that. But you did tweet that out. What are you hearing about the treatment on the ground of Black and Indian and Muslim people trying to flee?
So I've been in contact with students and student leaders at Sumi State University, so international students who are thousands of miles away from the Western Ukrainian border. They can't leave the university. They can't leave Sumi. The roads are being bombed. There are no trains out. And so it's a very different situation than what we're seeing from students who are trying to leave Kyiv, who've had that opportunity to get out. So the students I've been in contact with, a small group of them tried to leave a couple of days ago, and they were shot at by Russian soldiers. They've sent me pictures of the bullet holes in their luggage and the graze wounds they have. And so this is a very hectic situation. And I think the key thing we have to understand is, and as Alexander discussed, it's not just at the border that African and foreign students are having hardship. They're not even being allowed to get on buses and trains out towards Kyiv or Lviv. So you have a much bigger issue than I think a lot of people realize than just on the border. We have students who can't even make it to the border to begin with. Over 1,000 foreign students are stuck in Sumi right now, and they have food, but there is no water because of Russian bombing yesterday. And so we have a situation that's very much a humanitarian crisis. And, those of us who have contact are working really hard to make sure those students are taken care of. But it's a dire situation.
It's dire indeed. And, I want to point out to you, Alexander, that According to Ukraine's Ministry of Education, foreign students are an integral part of Ukraine's economy, bringing in more than $542 million in revenue to the country. Have you been in touch with your friends and family, other people who you said were trying to cross the border? Do you still have people who are stuck in Ukraine? What's their status?
I have so many people stuck in Sumy, and they are not able to leave. Like this morning, I got a voice message from one of them. He told me that some people were able to leave through taxi. The taxi was charging them $600. So when he went to leave, he went to the taxi area and he wanted to leave. The taxi told him that the reason they have not been able to leave was that because if they leave, the Russians will bomb down the whole Sumy. So they are trying to use them as human shield. Well, I haven't verified it, but that was what he sent me on the voice note, and I captured it and I started spreading the message to know what is going on. But I have at least 100 people that are contacting me that have not been able to leave, and they don't have water, as you said before.
This is a dire crisis, and it's just heartbreaking the way the globe values some lives and dismisses others. And the only way we were able to have such a informative conversation, Alexander, is because of your footage and you telling your story. You have an open invitation on the Cross Connection because these stories certainly deserve to be told. Every time we talk about this story, we ought to talk about the black and brown people who are left behind and devalued and dismissed.
They're not letting the black girl go. 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 They're not letting the black girl go.